Hi, I'm Hannah Koo. I am the Customer Relationship Manager at the Cyber Resilience Centre for London. Thank you for joining me for an introduction to cyber resilience. For those of you who do not know who we are owned by the Mayor's Office for Policing and Crime and part of a network of 9 other centres across England and Wales. We offer free resources and affordable services to help small to medium-sized businesses and third sector organisations strengthen their resilience against cyber threats. All we want to do is help London's business community because we know how devastating it can be if you face a cyber attack. And we also know you might not have the money to invest in bespoke security solutions. But as long as you have strong foundations of resilience in place, you are significantly more protected from threats. So with that in mind, before we start, can I ask you all for a favour, because I know after this webinar you will all return to busy lives. If you are not already a community member, would you mind signing up through the link I have provided or with the QR code so you can receive additional support after this webinar? It's free to sign up to. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do this. It's the Mayor's ambition to make London the safest city in the world to do business online, and our community membership hub will help to achieve this. When starting to look at where to improve your cyber resilience, you need to understand where you are vulnerable. Staying up to date on the current threat landscape is a great place to help you be proactive in protecting your business from threat, instead of reactive and having to suffer the consequences. So to start with, let's build a picture of the threat landscape. The Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport released an annual cybersecurity breaches survey. These figures show 39% of UK organisations had a cybersecurity breach or attack in the last 12 months, with 31% having had at least one breach or attack per week. Or rather, 36% of micro-businesses and 48% of small businesses suffered an attack when we delve deeper into different sizes of business. This just shows that no matter the size, you are not immune from cyber threats. 83% of these attacks started with a phishing email, fake emails manipulating a victim into actioning a request, such as clicking on links or opening an attachment. These figures could be much larger if people did not identify an attack to be the result of phishing. Because of these attacks, businesses lost an average of £4,200 or £3,080 for a micro and small business. 25% of those who are affected recognised the need for new measures to be put in place to prevent attacks in the future. Cybersecurity is a team effort and is one of the most effective ways of protecting your business. If you and your staff know how to spot phishing emails, that significantly reduces your chances of falling victim and suffering a cyber attack or data breach. However, only 19% of businesses surveyed provide training for their staff, when something such as this presentation on an annual basis can greatly increase staff awareness. You should also have cybersecurity policies in place to outline standards of best practice and user behaviour expected of staff so that the level of security is consistent across an organisation. Only 36% of UK businesses have cybersecurity policies in place. Throughout this presentation, I will be providing further tips on how to keep your business safe. You might want to note them down, or if you sign up as a community member, you can find these actions in the portal. Online criminals are really good at identifying what can make them money. For example, stealing and selling sensitive data or holding systems and information to ransom. The types of threat actors you can face include foreign governments who are generally interested in accessing really sensitive or valuable information that may give them a strategic or political advantage. Individual hackers with varying degrees of expertise, often acting in an untargeted way, perhaps to test their own skills or cause disruption for the sake of it. Political activists are out to prove a point for political or ideological reasons, perhaps to expose or discredit your organisation's activities. Terrorists are interested in spreading propaganda and disruption activities. They generally have less technical capability. Malicious insiders are those within the organisation and use their access to an organisation's data or network to conduct malicious activity, such as stealing sensitive information to share with competitors. The man with the sunglasses was an IT manager for an insurance firm who wiped thousands of computers overnight after he was sacked. This could have been prevented if the company had an offboarding policy and removed his user access. And then there are honest mistakes. So sometimes staff with the best of intentions just make a mistake, for example, by emailing something sensitive to the wrong email address or falling victim to phishing. As we saw in the previous slide, 83% of attacks started with phishing, but only 19% of businesses provide training to staff. Being able to spot phishing is a beneficial skill because your staff are the ones receiving emails, interacting with customers, communicating with supply chains, and also with each other. They are susceptible to falling victim to fraud, which leads to further cyber attacks, but they can also be the first line of defense if they know how to spot phishing attempts. Here is an example of phishing. Even if the email appears to come from someone you know, remain cautious and run checks to verify it's genuine. And do not click on links, open attachments, or action any other request until you are certain. When receiving an email, check the sender's email address. It can look genuine at first, but if you hover the mouse over it, you will see who it was really sent from, and this is probably not who you were expecting. If the email contains an attachment, link, change of instruction or bank account details for paying an invoice, or other requests that you do not feel comfortable in actioning, call the sender on a known number. Do not reply to the email as the account could have been hacked and used by criminals. Fraudsters will pressure you with short time frames to take action so that you panic, but remember, nothing is that important that you cannot stop and think about what is being asked of you first. Even a time limit of 1 hour is much longer than you think. You can also hover over links provided in the email to verify the website you'll be taken to. Links can look genuine at first glance, but when you hover over it, you'll be taken to a fake website set up by the criminal. These fake websites can be used to capture login details, personal details, card details, or infect your device with malware. Be thorough in your checks. Criminals can make tiny changes in email and web addresses, such as changing an O to a 0, or adding a hyphen or a full stop to break up words, make small mistakes, and more in an attempt to look convincing. Check how the email greets you and is signed off. Is it how the person or company usually compose their emails? Most phishing emails are addressed generically, like "Dear Customer," but just remember, even if it does address you personally, it does not mean it is genuine. The criminal might have obtained this information from a data breach. Another sign of phishing emails is spelling and grammar errors, as this can indicate the sender does not originate from the country you are expecting email to come from. Don't panic if you do click on a link. It might be that the website is asking you to input information, but change your password anyway if in doubt and remain vigilant of further scams. Also run an antivirus scan and make sure your software is up to date, just in case malware has infected your systems, and seek professional advice if needed. Encourage your staff to report fraud so that you can take appropriate and immediate action to mitigate further damage. Cyber criminals can hide and go undetected on a device for months after you fall victim to fraud so that they can capture information and cause significant disruption to business at a later date. Spam phishing are the generic email examples we have seen that are sent to thousands of people in the hope someone will take the bait. Cybercriminals do not expect everyone who receives the email to fall victim and leaves telltale signs, as we saw earlier. Other fraud types include spear phishing. These are targeted emails to an individual, organization, or group. Because these emails have personal references, it makes the recipient more likely to fall victim. For example, a fraudster can masquerade as a supplier and send an invoice with new bank details, timing it for when you're expecting to make payment. They might pretend that your previous payment failed and to try sending it to a new, different bank account, which is really going to the criminal. This information about your interests, who you do business with, who works for the organisation, and more can be obtained from public social media, websites, and data breaches. You can also face whaling attacks, which are spear phishing emails targeting the big fish, CEOs, owners, board members, etc. Or the criminal masquerades as senior management to manipulate staff into falling victim to fraud. Social media phishing is fraud through social media channels. You might receive a direct message that contains a malicious link or attachment, or be mentioned or tagged in a post that contains malicious links. Do not respond to these messages. Block the user account and report them to the social media service. A lot of the time, these links will ask for your social media login details, which is how they gain unauthorized access to your account and lock you out. Postal phishing is fraudulent letters sent by post. These might seem harmless at first, but they might ask you to call up a premium rate number, visit a malicious website, make a payment, provide personal information, sign up to a scheme, and more. If the letter appears to come from a reputable source, such as the government, search them online and make contact using known numbers to verify the request. Smishing are fraudulent text messages sent to your phone. During the pandemic, there were text messages asking if you wanted to book your vaccine. Respond yes or no to the text message. By texting back, you are charged around £20 on your phone bill. Finally, vishing, fraudulent phone calls. Hang up and do not provide the caller with any information. They might ask you to type in a PIN number and card details into the phone keypad, but fraudsters capture this information. A lot of restaurants and takeaway shops receive phone calls pretending to be from Deliveroo, Uber Eats, and Just Eat, saying there is something wrong with their equipment and the account that they have for the service that they are part of, amongst other things. So if you are in that industry, remain vigilant. Block all the numbers that come through. They do eventually die down if you keep blocking all the different numbers they use. There is further guidance on phone scams on the National Cyber Security Centre website. We often forget to share experiences and communicate with others to seek advice on fraud we receive. The more we talk about fraud, the more awareness it will bring and prevent others from falling victim to the same thing. Our national reporting body for fraud and cybercrime is Action Fraud. Action Fraud will filter through the reports and send them off to those who can investigate. The more reports they receive, the more they will make the threat a priority. It also means they can analyse common cyber trends and new threats to provide guidance and issue news updates that will encourage the public to remain vigilant. Please do not be ashamed of having clicked on links or opened attachments, or even paid the ransom to get your files back. Action Fraud would like to know all the cybercrime going on in the country so they can work towards making it safer. When you forward suspicious emails to report@phishing.gov.uk, the National Cybersecurity Centre, the cyber arm of the government's GCHQ, will analyse the suspicious email and any websites it links to. If they believe the email is malicious, they will seek to block the address the email came from so it can no longer send emails, work with hosting companies to remove links to malicious websites, and raise awareness of common reported suspicious emails with partners so they can take action. Just 2 months after the launch of this service, more than 1 million suspect emails were reported by the public, resulting in more than 10,000 malicious websites being blocked or taken down. The service continues to remove large numbers of malicious websites from the internet every day, so by doing your bit to report suspicious emails, you can help towards reducing the number of email scams and cybercrime in the UK. Suspicious text messages can be forwarded to 7726, which spells out spam when using the old phone keypads. This is free of charge and enables your provider to investigate the origin of the text and take action if it's found to be malicious. We have further guidance on how to spot fraud for community members. So fraud is one way cybercriminals try to gain access to your devices, online accounts and data, especially your passwords, because much like the locks on our front doors, passwords lock the doors to our online accounts to protect our assets from unauthorised access. So this is a very sought after piece of information. Criminals have developed techniques such as brute force, password spraying and credential stuffing to break into online accounts and act as the authorised user. And by doing so, they are able to scam your followers for their information more easily because the messages appear to come from someone genuine. And this has a domino effect. The criminal scams your followers, they fall victim, their account is hacked, and the criminal scams their followers, and so on. Brute force is using computer power to guess multiple combinations of passwords against a single account until the attacker gains access. Strong passwords increase the time it takes the computer to crack the password. Password spraying is trying a select list of commonly used passwords in conjunction with acquired usernames, forcing their way into many online accounts. A strong password is less likely to be on this list. Credential stuffing is having acquired a list of usernames and passwords, cybercriminals run automated checks against multiple online accounts until they break in, stealing information and/or money. Hackers rely on password reuse to achieve their objectives, so enforce the need for staff to use unique passwords for every online account. We do support the use of password managers, which will help you to cope with the many passwords you have to remember. You then only need to remember your master password to access your vault. Password managers will also create strong passwords for you that meet the policies required to log in to the service, identify where you have reused the same password, and where you have weak passwords that are easily cracked or guessed. There are many built-in password managers around, either with your antivirus, your browser, and the devices you use. but these can mean you only have access to your passwords from a single device. There are third-party options out there which allows you to access your passwords from anywhere. Make sure these services allow you to enable two-step verification and are encrypted, and also read the reviews to have an idea of the customer experience. Do a bit of research and select what works best for you and your circumstances. There are many other features available to protect your online activity. Never use the passwords in the table, because these are known to the criminals and can be cracked instantly in a brute force attack. When it comes to making a strong password, the longer and more complex it is, the better, which is why a passphrase is preferable. Some examples of strong passwords include London Beach Music, which is 16 characters long and takes 34,000 years to crack. London Beach Music with some numbers takes 6 million years to crack. 3 Red House Monkeys! Takes 84 billion years to crack. A useful technique to use is 3 random words. Look around where you are now and put together 3 items. Then add a number and a special character, and this can create your password. Add a couple more numbers and special characters, and it will increase in strength. If you use words of the same length, such as dog, cat, pig, it will take 2 minutes to crack, so make the words varied in length. You could perhaps use nouns and verbs as well. We have provided a video on this in our community membership portal. You must have a different password for every account you log into, because if one account is compromised, you will have to change the password for all your other accounts, as you will be susceptible to credential stuffing. The most important account to protect is your email account, because a criminal can reset all your passwords. So please make sure you are using the techniques I am talking about for this. Many businesses implement a policy which requires their staff to change the password every few months or years. However, this can be counterproductive because it means we have to think of new passwords each time and we become complacent. Often, to cope, we use the same password but change the number at the end, which makes the password no more secure than it already was. It is suggested that by having a strong password from the start, you only need to change a password when you believe it to be compromised. If password updating remains part of your policy, then a password manager will help with this. Here is a table of how long it takes to crack a password based on the length and complexity. There are some examples to the side here. Have a think of where in this table your passwords would be. This is just a rough guide. If you use a password manager, they will flag up the accounts where you have a weak password and will encourage you to update it, which is why password managers are a great asset to have. As we have already discovered, passwords can be compromised if they are weak or we have bad password habits, but our information can also be compromised in a data breach or we fall victim to fraud. This is where two-step verification comes in. Two-step verification means you need a second method of authentication before you can log into your account. This is often a one-time passcode sent to your phone. Each time you log in from an unrecognized device, you'll be asked for your one-time passcode. If your password is ever compromised, your account remains secure and gives you time to update the password before the criminal. You can select the ways in which you would like to set up two-step verification. The little black key with the gold Y on it is called a YubiKey, and this works by inserting it into the USB port and tapping the gold circle. You can register more than one key should one be lost or stolen. Most services will provide backup codes for you to store safely in case you ever lose your primary two-step method. Others allow you to set up more than one method of authentication. Like for Twitter or Google, you can use a combination of a one-time passcode sent to your phone and a YubiKey. Two-step verification can also be a great indicator that someone other than yourself is trying to log in, because you'll be notified with a one-time passcode at a time when you are not accessing that account. You should then update your password to prevent unauthorized access. Two-step verification can also be referred to as two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. Have an incident response plan in place. It provides a process that will help the organisation respond effectively in the event of a cyber attack. We have practiced fire drills since primary school, and everyone knows how to respond when the alarm goes off. We also practice first aid, so we know what to do when there's a medical incident. But would you know how to handle a cyber attack? If you identify and document typical cyber attacks that can affect your business, you will feel better prepared to face and handle the situation. You can do your research and make informed decisions in advance to reduce your response time to an incident. You do not want to be debating for hours whether you will turn off your Wi-Fi or not, because by then the malware would have already spread. If something like turning off your systems is already documented and decided in your plan with justifications, you can be confident in your decisions when it is needed most. Cyber attacks move quickly and gain foothold, so your response time needs to reflect this to reduce the impact on your business. If you categorize the threats from critical to low, you can prioritize your resources and response. You will also know who to contact and when, so that you can comply with legal obligations in line with the General Data Protection Regulation, the legislation in place to protect data. This is any information you collect that can identify and profile a human being. Google your name after this presentation and see how much information you can publicly find available about yourself, or have one of our team look for you. We have an individual internet investigation service available on our website. Contact us if you want a thorough investigation. The South East Cyber Resilience Centre has provided a template plan for you to edit for your business, so you know exactly what needs to go into your plan. We will also have blogs and guidance on our website that will simplify what you need to have in your plan. For a secure device that will reduce your risk of a cyber attack, here is a summary of what I have talked about today, as well as a few extra tips. Updates can be applied automatically to decrease that window of opportunity cybercriminals have to take advantage of security flaws, immediately protecting your device, software and data from cyber threats. Updating the browser will mean you are more likely to avoid visiting malicious websites and installing malware. Antivirus is particularly important to update so it can scan, identify and remove the latest malware. Otherwise, it might be missed in the scan and malware will remain undetected on the system. A firewall monitors connections travelling to and from the network, blocking any connections that are unauthorized. This is often part of an antivirus package, so make sure it is enabled. We have talked about the importance of two-step verification and how it provides that essential layer of security to protect your online accounts from unauthorized access, and that password managers are a fantastic way to store your passwords so you never have to remember them. A virtual private network or VPN will mask your online activity so that cyber criminals cannot steal your information as it travels across the network. This is particularly useful when working on the move and connecting to public Wi-Fi. Make sure all screens are locked with a password, passcode, PIN, fingerprint, facial recognition when you leave a device unattended. You never know when someone at work or at home might look through your device and see information they should not have seen. Do you know everyone who enters your place of work, whether they may be a contractor, security, visitor, or anyone else, for example? So it's not always the people you work with. Remember earlier I mentioned about the insider threat, the people who cause cyber attacks from within the organisation, whether they may be intentional or unintentional, and this is a very underestimated threat. Locking your screen is one way of protecting your physical device, especially should the device ever become lost or stolen. Have a separate user account for each user. A criminal with admin capability can change the security and structure of all your systems, so keep the admin account separate from everyday tasks. This is even a good practice to have at home. Back up your data regularly so you can get back to business as usual after a cyber incident. Accidents also happen when we lose our device or wipe files after clicking the wrong button. So having a backup of your important assets means you do not have to start from scratch. Make sure your backups are secure with a strong password, two-step verification, and can be encrypted. And test your backups regularly to make sure they can be recovered when you need them. Make sure to not back up malware, otherwise these files will be irrelevant. Avoid using public Wi-Fi at all times, especially when you need to log in to an online account, because cyber criminals can connect to the Wi-Fi and steal this information. If you urgently need Wi-Fi access, use a VPN. This was just a crash course on cyber resilience. More information can be found on our website and social media channels. We are always looking for new ways of helping businesses, and we would welcome your feedback. If you could take the time to complete the short survey whilst it's still fresh in your mind, it would be appreciated. Thank you for listening.